Hello, this is Rick Saltarelli with Salty Breeze Cruise Planners with this week's segment of Beyond Your Front Door. And today I want to talk about a topic that we get asked about quite often, and that is whether people should buy travel protection or travel insurance or not. And so the real simple answer for me is to say yes, because it gives you peace of mind. However, there are a lot of differences in the insurance policies that are offered out there. The two major differences are that there are insurance policies available from the vendors themselves and those from third party vendors. Our preference is for third party vendors for a couple of reasons. The first of all is that you can cover more than one component of your travel if you are using a third party travel insurance company. So, for example, if you are flying to Miami to go on a cruise, if you buy the insurance from the cruise line, you would then be responsible to buy a different policy to cover you for the flight portion of your vacation. If you package it all together with a third party travel insurance company, quite often you are going to save money and you'll be able to cover both the airfare and the cruise on the same policy. So, for example, if there was a claim that started because of a major flight delay and you miss the start of your cruise, then you would be covered for the cruise if it was all on the same insurance policy. Whereas if you had only covered the flight portion, you would not be covered for the cruise portion of your vacation. Um, the next is that the days of coverage can be longer with a third party company. So if you are getting off a cruise and then getting on a flight and flying to another time zone and it crosses over midnight, you want to make sure that you are covered for the day that you're landing and actually arriving home, and not necessarily just for the day you're getting off the cruise. And now I want to talk about the basics of insurance. It really comes down to that you can have protection for basic insurance, and then there is also insurance that would cover you for cancellation at any time. Your basic insurance really gives you a cancellation coverage for what is normally a covered reason, which are typically the most horrible things that happen in life. It's the death of a family member or sickness in a family member, not necessarily somebody that you were traveling with, but somebody that is a close relative. So you do want to be protection for cancellation for some of those reasons. You also want to be covered for trip interruption. This is perhaps when something happens when you are already on your vacation and you have to cut your vacation short and head for home. A typical example would be if there was a major flood or a major storm in the area where you live and your primary residence was damaged and you felt it was more prudent to leave your vacation and fly home, you would want to have coverage for that. Also for trip delay, if something goes on, most often this is when there's a long connecting flight that wasn't part of the original itinerary. There is coverage for those types of delays. Also for lost luggage. If something were to happen and your luggage was not to get to your final destination on time, you'd want to have a provision that would allow you to at least go and purchase some clothes so you could at least start your vacation in comfort. And then we get into some of the more important pieces. Emergency medical, certainly important. We don't think we're going to get sick. We don't think we're going to get hurt, but when we're traveling, things do happen. And if you ended up in a hospital in a foreign country, that could be catastrophic, both financially and for the type of care that you would like to have. And then that leads us to emergency medical transportation, the portion that I often say is perhaps the most important part of insurance. We have been on cruises where we've seen the Coast Guard come out to the cruise ship to pick somebody up that has either had a major health condition that has come on, like appendix attack or maybe a heart attack. And the cost of that flight, taking the person from the ship to the closest port, is not covered by the cruise line, it would be covered by the passenger. So having that emergency medical transportation would be important. And then the cancel anytime provision is exactly what it sounds like. This gives the traveler the opportunity to cancel for no reason other than that just feel that they don't want to go on the trip. They would not get 100% of their money back, but they would get a large portion, normally in the 80% range. And then often we are asked, when should we buy insurance? Well, if you buy it at the time of the deposit, or usually within a day or so, then you are covered for supplier default, which typically has not been something that people have thought about. But if you are working with a travel vendor that was to go out of business and you had this supplier default provision, the insurance company would provide you a compensation for the trip that has now been canceled because the vendor's no longer in business. Secondly, is if there was a change in a traveling companion. We see this on occasion with those who are friends now and planning a trip into the future and perhaps are not friends sometime between now and when the final payment is due. And if they want to get any of their money back, having this provision would be important to them. And then in today's environment, cancel anytime insurance often has to be paid for at the time of the deposit. And then the next time you would have an opportunity to buy insurance would be just before final payment. You would not be able to buy cancel anytime insurance, but you would be able to buy insurance that would cover you for all the things we've talked about other than cancel anytime. But it would also include pre-existing conditions. And anybody that has had any previous health conditions, especially in the last short term, as long as they are healthy and cleared to travel on the day they buy insurance, they would be covered for pre-existing condition. Now, you can buy insurance after final payment date, right up until just before you depart on your trip. However, the closer you get to your departure date, the less the insurance policy is a trip cancellation insurance. It becomes more of an insurance policy to cover for emergency medical and for emergency transportation. The thought, in my words, is that if you were to buy insurance, let's just say a week before your trip, and then cancel between that day and the day you actually depart, the insurance company could take the approach that you knew you were canceling and you bought the insurance to cover yourself when you already knew that you were not going on the trip. So I hope that this is helpful to those that are listening to Beyond Your Front Door today. This is something that we take very seriously. We are insurance specialists at Salty Breeze Cruise Planners, and we certainly invite you to ask any questions that you may have of us, both when you are planning your trip and then when you are making your deposit. On every quote that we give to clients and every invoice that we send to them, we do quote insurance, and we do encourage people to travel with insurance at all times. At Salty Breeze Cruise Planners, we help create lifelong lasting memories, and we want to make sure that you are fully protected for your trip. If you have any questions, call us at 888-332-8202. Thank you.